All right, welcome everyone. We are live here at the College Gridiron Showcase in Fort Worth, Texas, where we have been here now for a couple of days talking about this small college showcase that just kicked off today. Started with the practices, and tomorrow we have a scrimmage. Wanted to bring on for our first interview, joining the show, Mr. Andrew Whitaker, defensive back out of Washington University. Andrew, obviously, I know it's been probably a jam-packed couple days, a lot of information. I want you to just fill the folks in a little bit and just some of your favorite parts maybe to the week so far.
So we've had a lot of information. They brought in some amazing people to talk to us. We had a guy named Rod who helped us with our financials, making sure you know what you're going to expect when you go in this direction in professional football. We had body scans, which is really cool. You can see your fat, muscle, and your tissue and like your percentages.
Was that bizarre? That was like a little bizarre, right?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Like kind of like X-ray scans, but
yeah,
a little different. And then we had just a lot of coaches, a lot of scouts just speak to us and just show it, like give us the honest truth. Give it to us straight up. Tell us what we need to know.
Absolutely.
And all the good tips moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And what's it been like? Because obviously in front of scouts, I'm sure maybe some had gone through the school during the season a little bit or in preseason, but kind of seeing NFL scouts, CFL scouts, XFL scouts, USFL scouts, what is just kind of your vibe that you wanted to maybe show to them this week as you're kind of navigating what is pretty nerve-wracking in a few days here?
Yeah, I think my vibe is just like to try to show your intelligence on the field and try to show your quickness on the field. As a quarterback, you always want to be patient and you want to watch the hips and show that you can play man coverage on an island. So that's been my focus, and be hands-on when I need to be, but it's also, you got to remember the rules are different. From NFL and college, you can't be hands-on after 10 yards. So just adjusting to the rules and attacking the ball.
And what was the first day like? Obviously, I know it was predicated a lot on one-on-one situations, seeing that defensive back, wide receiver one-on-ones. How do you feel like personally that you performed in those situations, which are very important for NFL evaluators, obviously?
I think I did pretty well. I didn't have a perfect day, but I do think I covered deep routes very well. I got to show off my speed a little bit, and I'm just looking forward to tomorrow.
I love it, man. I love it. And it's kind of take us back a little bit because obviously I'm talking a lot about your experience at College Gridiron Showcase because that's where we are, and this is a big opportunity, obviously, for you. But for people that haven't seen Washington University, they haven't seen Andrew Whitaker to this point, can you fill me in a little bit on just some of your greatest accomplishments during your career or just a little bit about Washington U in general?
Sure. Washington University is a highly academic university. It's a top 15 university in the nation. It's a Division III college, and for me, I play two sports.
Yeah.
And I ran track and I played football and excelled in both of them. First team all conference, lockdown corner. They put me on the best receiver, and I would travel them.
Love that. And obviously, talk to me a little bit of why that matters, right? Because I think a lot of people think like track, football, completely different. Why does your background in track, do you feel like it helps you on the field?
One is like I know how to run. I know how to be fast, and I can teach somebody. Like I'm a speed expert at this point. You have to know every nitty-gritty, the dorsiflexion of your toe, when to accelerate, when not to accelerate. And then I think one of the biggest advantages, I know how fast receivers going.
Sure.
Like when you really watch receiver, they try to fool you. Self-fade, they say, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And but you can only self-fade so much. Your chest rises, your stride gets shortened, and those intricacies, differences allow me to have an advantage in the game. And then also, it's just like, especially hurdles as a DB, it just hip fluidity is like
Explosiveness, yeah, a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. You just said that you're the fastest man here. I love the confidence, by the way. That's fantastic. And what's that?
I would love we put a race on.
I love it. I know. I wish we could run some 40s.
Yeah.
Can you give me maybe a preview, a little bit, obviously in advance here? Pro day working. What are some of the goals you have from a testing numbers perspective?
4.340.
Whoa! All right.
Definitely.
Love it.
Definitely.
4.3 low, 4.3 high.
Low 4.3. It's gonna happen. Like confident, very confident. I mean, it's just track. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this for 4 years. I'm a grad student at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So 5th year, like, it's not like you have to teach me how to run. I just have to do it before you start.
Love it.
Not too different. I have great dimensions for DB. I have 6'6" wingspan and 10-inch hands, and I want to show that I'm strong too. Like, I'm about 180 right now, but I want to put up 10 to 15 on bench press and be really explosive in the vert with 40-inch. I'm around like 37 right now. I'm gonna get a few more inches, but we'll get there.
Love it, man. Love it. And stylistically speaking, you mentioned obviously the length that you have, the speed that you have. I know a lot of people, obviously, in the best interest of the corner, you want to be good at everything, right? You want to be able to press, you want to be able to play from the off, you want to be able to play zone. What do you feel like are your best strengths right now in coverage?
I think press. I'm really good at press corner. This season, I've worked more off corner though than I ever have, and I was first 2 weeks preseason. I really struggled because it was they don't just press me,
Sure.
And then I was like, I need this tool for future games. I need to be able to adjust and adapt, and I had to, and it's really been a great tool to have, and I've definitely improved on it. Zone coverage. I mean, zone coverage is good, but like sometimes you got to get out of your zones and make plays, and that's just the most important. I like most importantly this season I thought about setting up receivers and setting up quarterbacks and really trying to get in their head. What do they give them what they want to look at, and then use your speed to take away from them.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing too about the coverage versatility aspect, and I love the answer because one, the early advice I got in the scouting side of everything was I talked to a secondary coach at a college, and they said the question was I asked him, I was like, I'm talking about one of his players, like what type of player is he stylistically? He's like, well, NFL scouts talk about him. He's a man corner. I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, scouts don't come to schools to watch zone corners.
Right.
Like you can find a zone corner anywhere.
Right.
And I feel like really that unteachable part of it, because a man corner, you need to have those traits. You need to have the speed that you have. You need to have the length. But for zone, you can always improve on that, right? Like that's just eye discipline and kind of understanding spacing.
Right.
So I think that's huge for you. Let me ask you this. Who are some of your guys you're talking about the corners past growing up now? Like who are some of the guys that you feel like you maybe play a little bit like or you like to emulate to a degree? Like do you have anybody in mind?
Right. I know people probably say Jalen Ramsey a lot, but I talk trash in the field. I'm aggressive.
Were you talking trash today?
Of course.
Oh, really?
And also J.C. Jackson on the Patriots. I really like the way he plays. With his length and his physicality on the line and being able to adjust. But to be honest with you, I watch receivers a lot more than I watch corners. I study Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams. Study his little two-step hop release all the time.
Why is that important for the people that don't understand? Why is that important?
You got to know your opponent better. I even try the releases. I see even receivers love to make you look like they have two ways. And they may look like they have a two-way, but honestly it's like a 70-30. And their inside might be a little easier to get to than their outside. And those little inches, the little tenths of seconds, those make a difference in a game. Inches is the game of football.
Yeah.
And I just love studying receivers. I love studying their comeback routes, their ins, their outs. And I think that's how you really get better. And, of course, the quarterbacks. But
Absolutely. And I think that's a great note, again, because I was asked that question. And for me, like defensive backs, wide receivers, guys that are really predicated on one-on-one matchups a ton, I feel like why would you not study the opponent more than you would actually study, corners of your size and all that good stuff. So next question I have for you is obviously I know that you have a lot that you want to prove this week. You already talked about like what type of player you are. Maybe from the other side of everything, obviously you're going to be interviewing with teams. You're going to be talking to multiple leagues. What are some things from a characteristic perspective, you as a person, what do you want to give across that who is Andrew Whitaker as a person?
First, I want to be a leader. whenever I step into the space, I expect to be a leader, expect to raise the level of play of everybody around me. It's harder on a camp like this, but it's still possible with like positive attitude. And then again, it's like the intelligent competitiveness, not just that I'm competitive and I want to win. Like, yeah, that's why I played 2 sports in college. I'm competition at it. But more than that is I'm so competitive that I'm tuned into the details of the game.
Sure.
I respect the details of the game. I love film study. I spend hours on film study just to get one more play because that could be the difference in a game. So the intelligent competition, I think, is big.
And has that side of you, the film study, the wanting to be kind of a film room junkie, quote unquote,
Yeah.
has that always been there, or is that something that maybe is developed more in college?
Definitely developed more in college, and even through season. Like, I went from like, okay, this is the routes the receivers do, to this is the routes the receivers do in this situation, and this is the exact spot the quarterback will throw it. He's not going to throw it inside, low. He'll throw it high on the outside,
Right.
and that'll matter for where I break for the ball. So those small intricacies is everything.
Love it, man. I love it. So now tomorrow's a scrimmage. It's a little different, obviously, because today I think is really the scouting side of everything, right? It's like we want to see how you look in those one-on-one matchups, right? Like we're really looking at that hip fluidity that we talked about, the mirror ability, all types of things. Obviously, the long speed of working against double moves or vertical routes. In a scrimmage setting, what are some things that you want to get across as a player? Because obviously this is, a simulated ability to play on the field.
I think similar to today, like the same long speed ability and air ability, because I expect they're probably going to play us a lot of man in scrimmage.
Yep.
And then also physicality. Like when it comes down to coming down and making a tackle, I am a corner who loves to tackle. I love to fit for the run. I love to shed a block and show that my technique is through and through, running fast.
I love it. I love it. And the tackling aspect, I think it's huge for you, right? Because we're talking about guys that, for the most part, CJS deals with A3 players into the UDFA territory. How important is your ability to contribute on special teams?
I think that's huge, and that's the speed. I contributed on punt a lot. I made a lot of punt tackles, hit the guys who used to catch the ball. And my biggest thing in college was blocking kicks. I had 5 blocked field goals in college, and it's an art. And people, I feel like it's very rare that people just block kicks like that. It's like it's come from their start. It's just like track stance, and I'm really good at it.
Love it, man. Love it. So leave us with this real quick. Ready? So future now. An NFL team, a CFL team, whatever it is. Andrew Whitaker just got signed or drafted to their organization. What type of person, what type of player are they getting?
They're going to get a type of player that's going to be one of the hardest working on his team. He's going to live in the facility. He's going to study the details. He's going to ask a lot of questions. I don't know. As high as my football IQ is, it can be way.
Sure.
But I would love to just learn about the game, and that's how you get better. Like, at the end of the day, most of these leagues, talent-wise, team by team, pretty similar. You know what I mean? I'm not going to face crazy, like, I'm going to be faster than most people I see, but everybody's pretty similar. And it's the IQs, the little details of the game that make you go over the top.
All right. And last thing I want to ask you is a quick plug, Andrew. Obviously, I'm excited to see you in a scrimmage setting tomorrow. I'm excited to kind of report on how you look throughout the week. Social media handles, thanking someone, like anything that you want to kind of leave just the viewers with.
Yeah. Social media handles AWIT27 on Instagram and AWIT48 on Twitter. But I want to thank CGX and thank you today for this opportunity. I want to thank Jose Jefferson. And I want to thank Coach Lowbridge, who's helped me, guide me throughout the way, and a lot of my coaches at home and my teammates.
Nice. Awesome. So, again, joined here by Andrew Whitaker, defensive back out of Washington U. Make sure to keep an eye out for him for the rest of the week for updates from the College Gridiron Showcase. Andrew, appreciate it, man. We'll talk again tomorrow, all right? All right, we have some guys. I think we're going to be kind of running through this very relaxed situation. We're going to be interviewing a bunch of guys. Or grab him first and then get you up. So I think we have David Knox coming down, right? Good, man. Good. We got defensive lineman out of Lindenwood. Oh, man, I'm fantastic,
That's
brother.
great.
I hope you.
I was expecting it to be a little hotter here in Texas. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's my first time in Texas. Everybody was like, "Bro, it's gonna be kind of warm."
You didn't like the 50 degrees in wet today?
It's okay. 50
Yeah.
degrees in wet is okay, but that's what it's like back home in St. Louis every other day. So it's like,
I get that, man. Hey, I'll tell you this. So right now in New Jersey, where I am from, my wife had to deal with 3 to 6 inches of snow. So there could be worse things in the world. That's the point there.
That is way worse.
Yeah, a little tiny bit. And I felt really bad. I'm like, oh, of course, the time I go away is when we get 3 to 6 inches of snow. It's fantastic.
I'm quiet about that one.
So for the people out there, I'm really excited to bring David on. He's an interior defensive lineman out of Lindenwood, like I said. We actually have a couple Lindenwood guys in attendance this week, including Grady Daniels, defensive back, and Clint Sig, tight end out of Lindenwood. We tried to get Drew Sears here, but that's another story. But we'll talk about that at a different time. So, David, first, let's talk about that Lindenwood team, man. I asked Grady when I interviewed him, and I think I mentioned it to Clint as well. It's like, man, to have 3 players at the College Gridiron Showcase, which they put 12 draft picks into the NFL and another 70-plus free agent signings after the draft. So we did really well in that regard. Having 3 Lindenwood guys, not counting Drew Sears, who's an All-American, you guys could potentially have 4. I don't even know if there's another guy. We'll say 4 NFL players next year, professional football players. Talk to me about that senior class. I know Clint's a little different because he, was at Sioux Falls first, then he ended up at Lindenwood, so he wasn't there the whole time. But like the brotherhood.
Well, because of the COVID, Clint kind of is a part of that.
Okay.
Clint was there kind of with us. That senior class is going to be near and dear to my heart for decades to come. There's a lot of guys. A lot of hard-working guys. You were mentioning guys, but I got so many that pop up in my mind. Hard-working guys. I think of, guys that are still aspiring to play after college. I think guys like Dwight Bassler, Jordan Perry. I think of Glenn Gibbons, all these guys are seniors as well.
Yeah.
I think of Asante Connors, good DNs. I'm just thinking of all my guys that were seniors that year. It was special. We did something special. I can honestly say, fighting through adversity of COVID, fighting through adversity of maybe, having to follow protocols in the school, still being able to churn out success. It's big time. It's really big time. I probably like that.
No, man, absolutely. And I think it's really cool, too, because when I talked to both Drew and Grady about this, because, again, they were there like the full length of time at Lindenwood.
What if I told you I was there a little bit longer?
You were a little longer?
Yeah, a little bit.
So I know that you were used to maybe a little bit of the struggles, right? You guys had a couple down years and then really got it turned around. How do you feel to know that you set this program in a much, because I think the biggest thing that people always say is you want to leave things better than when you first got there, right? So what's it like to just kind of see what you built there and what you're going to, what they're now going to take and continue to build off?
I'm kind of the type of person. I've met all of my life. I've never really kind of, and this is no discredit to people that hop from good team to good team or pursue good teams. That's fine. You roll things are right. But there's always been something special to kind of going to a team. You guys go to a team, you got to change like winning, you change kind of the coaching setup. You go through, you make all these changes, and eventually, it's good. We changed a lot of it, honestly, and it wasn't just. And I can't pinpoint one guy doing more than the other guy to change, and everybody collectively wanted to change.
Yeah.
And once everybody kind of bought in and wanted to change and started playing for each other, it's lights out. It was really lights out.
It's awesome, man.
Really lights out.
No, I love that. And again, I love what you guys were able to build there. I think it's really special and really awesome. Let me now turn our attention to this moment, right? So obviously I know it's been hectic. Height, weight, DEXA scan.
But I said it was well handled. I kind of knew where I had to go.
Right.
I didn't know it was going to be like all of that.
You weren't blindsided though.
It wasn't too much of a blind side. It was pretty helpful. I wasn't up as late as I thought it was originally going to be.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I actually got a decent amount of sleep last night. I think about it.
But amount of sleep.
But how overall would you say is just the experience been for you so far?
Experience has been great. Honestly, it's well set up. I like the guys that I'm lining up next to in front of. I like the competition I'm seeing. I like the opportunities that I'm getting here. It's nice.
Yeah, well, I'll say today during practice, I felt bad because I didn't really go see the DBs and the wide receivers so much. I was staying down with you guys because
that's where the action at. You can see all the pretty stuff, the catches, the QBUs,
touchdowns.
Yeah, touchdowns, but ain't nothing like seeing two grown men trying to knock each other head off consistently.
Man, it was because I really do think, and I've said this now for several weeks, I think the strength, and I mean, there's good players at every single position in College Gridiron Showcase, in my opinion, at all levels. But I would say that the O-line and D-line, for me, the classes that we have this year were really good. in my opinion. So you guys were working against a really talented offensive line group today. What was it like from an individual perspective? Were there maybe a guy, I don't even know if you know names yet, but like guys that maybe popped out a little bit to you? How was just kind of the competition?
Popping out to me from, I guess, I can really think back to my first one-on-one rep. It had been a minute. I was kind of anticipating like how it was going to go. And I remember Dijon from West Illinois, was pretty good, patient with his hands. I was expecting, to initiate like my move a little bit quicker than what he was.
Right.
He kind of caught me a little bit with an offhand. It was good work.
Yeah.
So I'd say, pretty much that. But I'd say also once I settled in and kind of got in my groove, I kind of started, feeling things out. I'm kind of, I'd say like my pass rush, like to initiate contact and get a feel for where to work squares with people. So after I started working squares with guys, I got really settled in, one-on-ones.
Love that, man.
907, that was the highlight of the day. That was fun. I said 907.
Yeah. Oh man, that's my honestly, like I could have just watched Inside Run the entire time.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun. Let me ask this, because I already mentioned obviously the tradition that you guys have built at Lindenwood, the star players you have. Being around scouts probably isn't too weird, because I'm sure you guys saw a few coming in through the season, all that good stuff. But what's it like just kind of see scouts from CFL, XFL, USFL, NFL, like all different types?
It's interesting because I'm not saying that they all like kind of top two different, but it's kind of interesting to see like kind of what they're looking for, because some guys, like it's just looking at it from like a D-line perspective. Some guys might want, an edge rushing DN. Some guys might need a DN that's a little bit heavier that can hold up in the run game.
Right.
Some guys might need a pass rushing D tackle. Some guys might need a nose that can, reset the line of scrimmage. So it's just interesting to kind of, talk with them and see what all they're looking for and kind of get an idea of, okay, what are you looking for? What is like your idea, makeup of a player you're looking to, sign, basically.
Sure.
So that's pretty good.
Can you profile the two teammates that are here? Like, give me the skinny on Grady Daniels and give me the skinny on Clint Say. Like, what type of players are they?
Grady is one of those safeties where he's going to fly across the field and he's going to knock you out. I honestly can't tell you how many times over the years I've seen Grady light somebody up, get up for a while, light them up, ball pop out, light them up, they fumble, and I see him coming, so they tuck away and then he get picked. So it's like, when you do stuff like that, that's going to get you in. With Clint, that's a big dude.
That's a big dude.
Clint, he's big. He gonna make the catches. I've seen him make 195 catches. He gonna run his route, and he loves the block. So that's versatility right there. So that's good on Clint player.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know, obviously, a lot of competition throughout the week. You mentioned a little bit of kind of. You like to initiate contact, and then you're kind of a reactor as a pass rusher. Describe yourself though, just overall as a football player. What do you feel like are some of your big strengths?
Biggest strengths, my field strength is really strong. Double teams, I really don't get washed. I don't get moved off the ball. I'm gonna hold my. I'm gonna keep my linebackers clean first and foremost. So I'd say very selfless with that. I'm like, if I can make the play, I'm for sure gonna try to make it. Don't get me wrong. And I also take pride in being able to open things up for other guys. I'm quick, my reaction time and my quickness off the line helps put me in a good spot. It kind of, helps me initiate that contact first, so I can get in good positioning for those double teams or to get them back. Football, just instincts and IQs. I can kind of, I like to, I wish this is my first time seeing a lot of guys here, but even towards the end, I kind of started picking up on, okay, this guy likes to go in. So his stance looks different when this is about to go on. So, I kind of just say that's a little like tier list, like what I would do well and what I excel at on the field.
Mm-hmm. And how much has that film study maybe improved? Do you feel like you always had that? Was that something that's really improved in college?
For sure didn't have it. I can remember back in high school, that's probably everybody's first introduction to huddle.
Sure.
They show us the game film. I get on there and I just watch the entire game. Okay, I watched it once. I watched the entire game again, maybe 2-3 times. Okay, I know what they do. They do this, and that.
Right.
And then once I got to college, and I really seen like, no, you really need to have an idea of what they run, formations. You need to then take it a step further. What is your one-on-one matchup over here going to look like over here? So that what habits does so for me, what habits does the center of the guard have that I can pick up on, or the tackle? What's it like? Is they lean in when they double team?
Right.
Or they kind of lighten their stance when they're about to pull the pass? Well, just little things you can pick up on. So that's definitely big on just watching film.
Yeah. And last question for you. I think it's the most important question I'm going to ask you all week, potentially.
Okay.
Drew Sears had 1 billion tackles over the last 2 years. How many tackles of those are because of you?
I don't want to be that guy.
You can do it, man. You can take credit. I'm giving it.
I'm going to take credit.
Nobody gives you enough credit. You're the big guy that takes up double teams, doesn't let guys work up to the second level.
Yeah,
I want you to get your credit. How many of those 310 tackles in the last 2 years are yours?
I ain't gonna say like a huge percentage of them are, but I can definitely name a couple where it's like, at the double team, I'm holding in it, and I see Drew flying and go light somebody. I've just seen that a couple of times. But of course, Drew flies sideline to sideline. Drew's an excellent talent, so I ain't gonna take that away from him.
I love it, man. I love it. Maybe the last question. I lied to you. Last question is, what are you trying to get across to NFL scouts, CFL scouts, evaluators in general? Like, what do you want them to leave the week and think about David Knox?
I want them to think that this guy is going to go hard. I don't have to tell him anything twice for him to get it.
Right.
Selfless player. He isn't really low, with this football thing. I'm not looking to be, this super famous guy. I just want to be good to the people around me, and I want to just be good to my community. So they'll be getting a guy that's like really locked in on his craft and really like family and brother oriented. And how I approach the game and anything, like if I'm gonna go to war with you, I gotta look at you as my brother. Absolutely. And so when the team, they sign me and they come my way, they're gonna get somebody that's gonna sell out for their brothers and their staff.
Love it, man. Logan Knox. David Knox.
Hey,
what did I say? We got Logan Swanson next. So it popped in my head. David, appreciate it, man. I'll see you tomorrow. All right. All right. Now bringing on. We are rapid fire here. Thank you, everybody that's joining us right now. If you would like to ask any questions for any of our guests, I applaud you to please ask. Joined now by Logan Swanson, defensive lineman out of Augustana. I think I have that right.
Yep, Augustana.
Yeah, got it. All right, cool, man. So you are a little different than my last two guests so far. You have not competed so far this week. Right?
No,
you have not. So you are a part of the Desperado group, if I remember that correctly. Cool. Desperado. I didn't even need to look it up, man. I'm so good right now. So Logan, first and foremost, you just checked in. When did you get in? Recently?
I got in at about 10 a.m. this morning.
Oh, 10 a.m. Okay.
Yep. And then the rail and then the whole getting my check bag.
Yeah. How was the ride in? Not too bad?
It was kind of chaotic, honestly.
Was it really? Why?
Yeah, my flight got canceled.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, so
Where'd you come out of?
I was trying to come directly Sioux Falls to Dallas.
Okay.
And that flight did exist, but they canceled all the flights for today. So yesterday, I called the airline and I was
Is it snowing? What's the story?
No, they didn't have crew. So they just canceled all the flights. And I was like, guys, I need to be there. And they're like, okay, we'll get you to Chicago and then we'll get you to Dallas. I said, all right, sounds good. Okay. And then that one got delayed. And then I was like, I still need to get there. They're like, all right, put you in a hotel in Chicago. And I came down from Chicago this morning.
Man, I had a not a similar one to that one getting in here, but I will tell you a quick story. So I went from New Jersey, Philadelphia airports. I stopped in Washington, really short trip, and then the connecting flight took me here for what everything was going great. And then I get here in Fort Worth, and my bag that had all my equipment, everything that you see in front of it, was stuck in the airport for 2 days, and I couldn't get it. So that was fantastic. Yeah. So I'm glad you're with us, obviously.
Yeah.
I know you haven't done a ton yet. You're still kind of, I'm sure, anticipating what's coming for you.
Oh, yeah,
but just what have you been able to enjoy so far? Anything, or you just been kind of keeping to yourself?
I thought the deck scan was really cool.
You did the deck scan.
Yep,
That's cool, right?
And I did all the questionnaires and I did the reaction tests with the Cowboys, and that one was pretty intense, actually.
Was it intense?
I was not expecting that right off the train rail to come and do it, and it was cool.
Texas scan's a little bizarre though, right? Like I kind of saw people just doing. I'm just like, this is next level stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's a little crazy.
I would compare it to like an MRI. Like I sat still and you can't move at all. And I was like, I kind of feel like I'm doing an MRI or something.
Yeah.
And they're talking to me about it. They're like, yeah, this is going to tell you to like the ounce of how much fat and how much muscle you got. And I'm like, oh, that's really good information. I'll be trained. So I'm excited to get that back.
Yeah, it's and I'm excited to obviously get the weigh-ins and get to everything that we have planned for you. Obviously, getting on the field eventually.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to you a little bit about your career at Augustana, because obviously you were a guy, if I remember correctly, 2019, you had a fantastic season, a lot of tackles for loss. You did, and then I think 2020 was canceled. If I remember correctly.
2020 was canceled.
So what was it like dealing with obviously the COVID pandemic and just the 2020 season being canceled and trying to come back and I guess maintaining a positive outlook?
Yeah, I mean, we went into the 2020 season. I was named the captain, and then we kind of just went into it like we lost the first round of the playoffs in 2019, and we went into it like playoffs started as soon as that game was over for next year, for the next available year. So, I mean, we kind of took it with a chip on our shoulder if we wanted to be NSIC champions. And our school hasn't done it in 6 years, so that's something we did this year in 2021.
Congratulations. So, that's awesome.
So we really wanted to do that. And then defensively, we wanted to be dominant in the Russian defense, and we were.
Wasn't it like 2 yards a carry or something you guys gave
up?
It was like a crazy
37 yards of rushing a game. That was our average. So we were the best across FCS, FBS, D2, and D3.
That's absurd, man. Obviously, you're playing a position where a lot of that, I don't want to say all of the credit, because obviously there's 11 guys on defense, right? So it's a collective effort. But like, speak to me about your role in that defense and how you have helped to allow them to be that successful in the run game.
Yeah, I mean, in 2019, the interesting thing is in 2019, I had that stellar season. I mean, it was a phenomenal season stats-wise.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't feel like my play changed at all in 2021. It was just kind of the schemes that teams tried to attack us, and especially once you see that, like, wow, we can't run against these guys, they stopped. Or they ran the ball weak. Yeah. So I'm a strong side interior defensive lineman, so, like, they only ran the ball weak, or it was a QB scramble, or they just didn't run the ball, period. Or they did a lot of perimeter running. I know when we played Wayne State, like, I think they ran it inside one time the entire game. So it's really hard to get stats when that's what's happening. And we had a lot of short passing game, which was a lot different than in years past.
Sure.
So that kind of affected things too. But no, we just kind of had a different mindset when it came that no one could run in the A's and B's. They were dark every point. And then third and long, we tried to get after it and create pressure.
I love that, man. I've never heard it phrased like that. They're dark. I like that a lot. That's really cool. I'm going to steal that probably in the future. Let me ask you now, because I know there's a lot of things that you probably want to prove to NFL evaluators, CFL evaluators, USFL, XFL, like whatever. What are some things that you want to get across this week that, like, this is what Logan Swanson is, this is what you're getting to your organization?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I want to get across is that, one, I am a run stopper, that I'm a dominant guy who's going to change line of scrimmage every play, whether that be a run down or pass down. Obviously, you change gears. And I want to show that, I can compete against some of these D1 guys. I mean, I think I'm a D1 player, and I think that this camp or showcase is the best way to go out and prove that. Just that, it doesn't matter who's across from me. I'm going to go out and dominate everyone.
Is there a chip on your shoulder? Because I know you're a guy that's a small school guy, but you have next level size. You've had next level production. Do you feel like you have a chip on your shoulder to show that going against I just saw a guy from Texas walk by. I saw a guy from Houston, Texas Tech. Like, obviously there's big schools here as well. The ability to show that you belong in that category, do you feel like there's a chip on your shoulder?
Yeah, I feel like there's a chip on my shoulder, and I also feel a sense of pride too. Yeah, it's like I know that the Sioux Falls community is really cheering for me. And Sioux Falls is a pretty big city. It's kind of weird that we don't have a D1 school. But either way, like, there's a lot of pride in Augustana football. Sure. And there's also a lot of pride in NSIC football. And there's a lot of kids from NSIC here, which is really nice to see as well. Yeah. But, that just because you are a D2 athlete doesn't mean that you're not good enough to make it to the next level. Sure. And I feel that there's a lot of pride and humility when it comes to that. And I want to demonstrate, like, I went to a small school, but I could compete with anybody in these D1 schools.
So schematically,
Yep.
what type of front did you play in? Were you with odd man, even front? And what do you feel like what was your role in that defense? And what do you feel like is your best role at the next level?
So we were 4-man down,
Yep.
but we also did a little bit of 3-man.
Okay.
When it was 3-man, I was nose guard.
Okay.
When it was 4-man, I was primarily 3-tech, but I would also play nose guard depending on where the team needed or depending on our personnel if we had injuries or something like that. But I played both nose guard and 3-tech.
Okay.
I felt like 3-tech I was better at because I could. How we played it was we played it kind of in a Husker front towards this season, anyways, where I had A or B gap.
Okay.
In the run scheme, and depending on the block that the guard gave, but 3-tech it allowed me to just play faster instead of
Because you're playing in one gap compared to two, right?
Well, it made me demand a double team. So anytime that
Gotcha.
it was, they had to actually stretch to get me into a double team compared to me just automatically being in a double team.
Right.
And
right.
that's what opened up. I mean, our middle linebacker had a phenomenal year this year. TJ Liggett he had a great year, and it was because like if I'm demanding that double team and soaking up a double team, that makes him stretch it out. He just got an open gap to shoot to take out the running back, and that led to a lot of our success. It's that I knew I was going to get double teamed, even or like a outside zone or anything. I knew I was going to get double teamed or switch blocked, but if I stayed attached to the guard, I'm taking 2 for 1, and I'm doing my job. And then the nose taking 2 for 1. All the linebackers are free.
Linebackers are clean. Absolutely.
We made that joke all the time for the linebackers. We're like, we're just doing your job. For us.
Hey, I was a former linebacker, so anytime I had some good defensive tackles in front of me, I thank them imminently.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yes, I will take you out for lunch. Like, I'll get you a nice and dinner. Like, that's good with me.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. I love asking this question. Role models for you. This could be multiple layers, right? Like this could be parents, this could be a coach, but like it also could be maybe some players that you model your game after. Like who are some role models in your life?
I mean, I would have to say my biggest role model has been my mom. It's been me and my mom my whole life, and she taught me to be who I am today, and I love her for that. I'm grateful. And then I would have to say, honestly, probably all the coaches that I've seen. They believed in me, and during the whole recruiting process, they were awesome, and they also taught me more of, just how to perfect my game. It's like, hey, in high school you were dominant, but now everyone was the top dog in high school, and now they're in college. So now how are you going to become the top dog? And so from redshirting my freshman year to now, like I became an All-American, just like they said. They're like, if you put in the hard work and the effort, you'll get All-American. So,
and I'm sure that you've had, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure that you've had a few scouts that have come through Augustana, because obviously you've been a notable player for the last couple of years. And I don't know if fortunate is the right word, but how awesome is it to know that you're going to be in front of so many different scouts, so many different eyes, and have that ability to showcase who you are?
Yeah, I mean, we had, I think, about 20 scouts at practices this year, which is pretty good for Augustana for a D2 school.
Sure.
And that was pretty awesome. But for here specifically, I'm really excited to just show all of the teams, like, hey, like this is who I am, or like these are more Southern scouts than the Midwest scouts. So then to show another pair of eyes and just get on lists. That's my goal, is just get on the radar and be like, hey, I'm here and I'm here to stay.
And how important is it for you to also not only just showcase your abilities, but to be able to speak to them one-on-one, show the person you are, like what type of person are you, and just how important is it to get like an authentic look at who you are?
Yeah, so I feel as though not only am I a good football player, but I feel as though I'm a really just overall good person.
Sure.
And you can't really convey that through film of just like, I'm not a problem kid.
Absolutely.
I'm a kid. I'm literally doing a backpack drive for the homeless youth in Sioux Falls right now.
That's awesome.
It's something that I do annually. So I'm regularly doing community service, and I went to an academic school, so I care about academics. And just like I'm involved in theater, and I have a DJ company. Like I'm involved in a lot of different things, and like people don't know that just because they're like, oh, he's a really good football player.
Yeah.
But overall, I feel like I'm very dynamic in different things that I can do and offer a team, not only just as an athlete. And that's what I want to be for any NFL or CFL or XFL team. But like that, hey, I'm not a problem guy, and I already have a brand for myself, and I feel as though
And you're
I'm
not a
just
meathead.
boosted.
You're not a meathead.
I'm not a meathead.
I love that. Tell me about the theater background. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, so I mean, I started theater back in middle school. I was
Okay.
Blue Bear, my first musical. Yeah,
Okay.
so I was a big guy, Blue. And then after that, I started just doing it every year. I did like Hairspray and Footloose and
Nice.
Aida and some other In the Heights. I was showing just
Yeah.
But I've been doing theater, and it's actually crazy. So the whole football team went to a show at Augustana that I did. I did
Nice.
Clue the musical. And I was Colonel Mustard for that, and the whole football team came. So there was 100 football players watching.
Oh, so you can sing too, not
Yeah,
just
yeah, I
act.
can sing too. Yeah, and the whole football team came, and it was just the theater department was just in awe. They never would have thought that an entire football team would come, but that's just the family we had at Augie, and I'm grateful for that. And then the theater flipped it, so then they made a whole Swanson day on the field as well, and then they came and dressed in costumes for a football game. And it wasn't Halloween. So like they made their presence known that and just like having that has been awesome, theater and football.
You made me want to go to Augustana, man. It sounds like you guys have a nice little philosophy. That's not the right word. Atmosphere, like a culture, right?
It's a culture.
Like,
We care about you as a person, not only just the football.
I love that, man. All right, so last thing I want to ask that you can give to the viewers real quick before I let you go. I just want to present you the opportunity to, if you want to do shout outs, you can. If you want to shout out social media handles, like what is something that maybe you just want to leave the listeners with?
So my Twitter handle is Swan Sauce. That's
Great Twitter handle, by the way.
Thank you.
Great
Appreciate it. I want to give a shout out to Augustana football. I've already done that. My mom, Sarah Swanson. But honestly, if you're a viewer and you really want to donate to a good cause, honestly, I would just say, if you go to my Twitter handle, I have a link to my GoFundMe. And I think homeless youth is a topic that isn't really talked about. So out of the 30 million people in the United States who are homeless, 40% of them are under the age of 18. And as an educator, that's my major anyways.
Nice.
Is to be a teacher. I would want to help students get the necessities so that I can help them learn more in the classroom. So if that's something you're interested in donating to, that's my shot.
Well,